What if the life you are living right now is not truly your choice, but the result of invisible patterns running your mind? Think about it. The way you wake up, the way you react, the way you delay, doubt, and sometimes even quit before you begin. It feels natural. It feels like this is just who I am. But what if that is not your identity? What if that is your conditioning? Most people never question this. They go through life repeating the same habits, the same thoughts, the same emotional cycles over and over again. Not because they want to stay stuck, but because their brain is wired that way. And the truth is uncomfortable. Your brain is not designed to make you successful. It is designed to keep you safe. Safe means predictable, familiar, easy. That is why you go back to distractions when things get hard. That is why you hesitate when opportunity appears. That is why you promise yourself change and then slowly fall back into the same routine. It is not laziness, it is programming. And here is the part most people never realize. Every time you repeat a behavior, you are strengthening it. Every time you accept an excuse, you are confirming it. Every time you delay action, you are teaching your brain that hesitation is normal. You are not just living your life, you are training your mind how to behave. But there is something powerful you need to understand right now. If your mind can be programmed, it can also be reprogrammed. That means the person you think you are is not fixed. Your habits are not permanent, your limits are not real, they are patterns, and patterns can be broken. This is where everything begins to change. There are ancient systems refined over centuries designed to reshape the way you think. Not with hype, not with temporary motivation, but with deep, lasting transformation. These are not quick fixes. They are mental frameworks that align with how your brain actually works. And once you understand them, something shifts inside you. You stop fighting yourself. You stop relying on bursts of motivation. You start moving with clarity, with control, with purpose. Imagine waking up and not negotiating with your goals. Imagine acting without overthinking every step. Imagine becoming the kind of person who does what they say consistently without excuses. That version of you is not far away. It is buried under layers of repetition, doubt, and old habits that were never questioned. But today you are questioning them, and that changes everything. Because awareness is the first break in the pattern. The moment you see what is controlling you, you begin to take control back. Slowly, intentionally, powerfully. You don't need to become someone else overnight. You need to start observing, interrupting, and replacing what no longer serves you. Right now, you are standing between two versions of yourself. One is familiar, comfortable, predictable. The other is disciplined, focused, and in control. The difference between them is not talent or luck. It is awareness turned into action. And if you stay with this, if you truly understand what comes next, you will not just feel motivated, you will start becoming someone different. Not someday, starting now. And now that you see it, you cannot unsee it. The patterns, the hesitation, the quiet resistance that shows up the moment you try to change. This is where most people stop. They become aware, but they don't act differently. And awareness without action slowly turns into frustration. Because knowing what to do is not the problem, doing it consistently is. Your brain will not change because you understand something once. It changes when you repeat something enough times that it becomes automatic. That is how every habit you have today was built. Not through intensity, but through repetition. This is where everything shifts. You don't need a massive transformation. You need a small, undeniable step. Something so simple your mind cannot reject it. Because the moment your brain feels overwhelmed, it pushes back. It delays, it negotiates, it finds a way out, so you remove the pressure. You make the action so small that there is no excuse left. 1 page, 1 minute, 1 step. It sounds insignificant, almost pointless, and that is exactly why it works, because your brain accepts it. And once it accepts it, you begin. Starting is the hardest part, not because the action is difficult, but because resistance is strongest at the beginning. The moment you move even slightly, that resistance weakens. Your mind shifts from avoidance to engagement, and something powerful begins to build. Momentum. Momentum is not loud, it is not dramatic. It is quiet, steady, almost invisible at first, but it grows every time you show up, every time you follow through, every time you prove to yourself that you can act even when you don't feel like it. This is how identity begins to change. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start becoming someone who does, Not occasionally, not when it feels good, but daily. Your brain pays attention to patterns. It asks one simple question again and again. What kind of person am I becoming? And your actions answer that question. When you show up even in the smallest way, you send a signal. You are consistent, you are reliable, you are in control. And the more you repeat that signal, the stronger it becomes. This is how discipline is built, not through force, not through pressure, but through alignment between what you say and what you do. Most people wait for motivation, they wait to feel ready. But readiness is a trap because it rarely comes, and when it does, it fades quickly. Consistency does not depend on how you feel, it depends on what you choose. And when the choice is small, it becomes easier to repeat. When it is easier to repeat, it becomes a habit. And when it becomes a habit, it becomes part of who you are. That is the real goal. Not achieving something once, but becoming someone who cannot stop. So stop looking for big moves. Stop waiting for the perfect plan. Shrink the action until it feels almost too easy, and then do it anyway. Because every time you act, you are not just completing a task. You are rewriting your identity. And once that identity starts to shift, everything else follows. And as your actions begin to change, something deeper starts to surface. A quiet question that most people avoid their entire lives. Why am I doing any of this? Because movement without meaning eventually breaks you. You can push yourself for a while, you can force discipline. You can chase goals that look impressive on the outside, but if there is no connection inside, the energy fades, the drive disappears. And you find yourself right back where you started, wondering why nothing feels enough. This is where clarity becomes power. Your mind is always searching for a reason. Not a surface-level excuse, but a real emotional anchor. Something that makes the effort feel worth it. Something that pulls you forward even when things get difficult. Without that, every action feels heavy. With it, even hard things feel purposeful. Most people never stop long enough to face this. They follow paths that were handed to them. They chase expectations. They measure success by someone else's definition, and slowly they disconnect from themselves. That is why so many people feel lost, even when they are moving. Because direction is not the same as purpose. You can be busy and still feel empty. You can be productive and still feel stuck. You can achieve and still feel like something is missing. That missing piece is alignment. When what you do connects with what you value, everything changes. Your energy shifts, your focus sharpens. You stop needing constant motivation because your actions start to mean something to you. And meaning creates consistency. Because when things get hard, you don't just rely on discipline. You rely on purpose. And purpose is stronger than emotion. It does not disappear when you feel tired. It does not fade when things become uncomfortable. It holds you steady. So you need to ask yourself, honestly and without distraction, what actually matters to me. Not what sounds good, not what looks impressive, but what feels real. What kind of life do you want to build? What kind of person do you want to become? What are you willing to struggle for, even when no one is watching? These questions are not easy. They demand honesty, they demand reflection, but they also unlock something most people never experience, direction with meaning, and once you feel that even slightly, you cannot ignore it. Because your mind recognizes truth. It knows when something is aligned and when it is not. That awareness creates tension, the kind that pushes you to change, to let go of what no longer fits, to move toward what actually matters. And when you begin acting from that place, your behavior becomes intentional. You stop wasting energy on things that don't serve you. You stop saying yes to everything. You become selective, focused, clear. Your brain thrives in clarity. The more defined your direction, the less resistance you feel. Confusion drains you. Purpose fuels you, so every small action you take now carries more weight, not because it is bigger, but because it is aligned. And alignment turns effort into progress. You are no longer just moving. You are moving with meaning. And that is what keeps you going when everything else tries to stop you. And the moment you begin moving with meaning, a new challenge appears. Not from the outside, but from within, the quiet voice that says, "You already know enough." The subtle belief that you have figured things out, that you don't need to question anymore. That is where growth quietly dies, because the most dangerous trap is not failure. It is comfort disguised as certainty. Your mind craves certainty. It wants to rely on what it already knows. It builds routines, beliefs, and opinions to make life easier. And over time, those patterns become rigid, fixed, untouchable. You stop exploring, you stop questioning, you stop expanding. And without realizing it, you begin to shrink. Real growth requires something most people resist: humility, the willingness to admit that no matter how much you know, there is always more to learn. The courage to approach each moment, each challenge, each opportunity with fresh eyes. Not as an expert trying to prove something, but as a learner ready to discover something. Because the moment you believe you have mastered something, you close the door to improvement. But when you stay open, everything becomes an opportunity. Every mistake becomes feedback. Every obstacle becomes insight. Every interaction becomes a chance to grow. This is how your mind expands. When you drop the need to be right, you gain the ability to get better. And that shift changes everything. Instead of protecting your ego, you start building your potential. Instead of avoiding discomfort, you lean into it. Because you understand that discomfort is not a sign to stop. It is a signal that you are stretching beyond your current limits. Your brain responds to curiosity in a powerful way. When you approach something with openness, it becomes more engaged. It forms stronger connections. It learns faster. It adapts more easily. This is how you accelerate your growth without forcing it. You stop repeating old patterns and start creating new ones, because you are no longer reacting from habit. You are responding with awareness, and awareness gives you options. Options to think differently, to act differently, to break cycles that once felt impossible to escape. Most people remain stuck because they approach new problems with old thinking. They try the same methods, expect different results, and wonder why nothing changes. But when you stay open, you see what others miss. You notice patterns, you recognize opportunities. You find solutions where others see obstacles. And this is where confidence begins to transform. Not the fragile kind that depends on success, but the deep kind that comes from knowing you can learn anything, adapt to anything, grow through anything. That kind of confidence is unshakable. Because it is not built on what you know, it is built on your ability to keep learning. So you stop fearing mistakes, you stop avoiding risks, you stop holding yourself back just to stay comfortable. You move forward not because you are certain, but because you are open. And that openness becomes your advantage. While others stay stuck in what they believe, you keep evolving. And in that evolution, you become unstoppable. And as you continue to grow, to question, to expand, you will come face to face with something that cannot be avoided. Resistance in its rawest form. Not confusion, not doubt, but discomfort. The kind that tests your limits. The kind that makes you want to stop, slow down, or turn back completely. This is the moment that separates intention from identity. Because it is easy to stay open when things feel good. It is easy to stay curious when progress is visible. But when pressure builds, when results are slow, when effort feels heavy, your mind shifts. It looks for relief. It searches for escape, and it becomes convincing. It tells you that you have done enough, that you deserve a break, that maybe this path is not for you, that maybe you should wait, reset, or try something easier. This voice feels real because it is designed to protect you. Your brain does not want you to suffer. It wants you to conserve energy, to stay within what is known and safe. But growth does not exist in that space. Growth demands that you stay when it is uncomfortable, that you continue when it is inconvenient, that you move forward even when there is no immediate reward. This is where discipline becomes real, not the loud, visible kind that people talk about, but the quiet, internal strength that keeps you steady when everything inside you wants to quit. It is the ability to sit with discomfort without reacting to it, to feel the resistance but not obey it, to acknowledge the difficulty but not be controlled by it. Because the truth is, discomfort is not your enemy, it is your training ground. Every time you choose to stay instead of escape, you build something powerful, you build endurance. Not just physical but mental and emotional. And that endurance changes you. It increases your capacity. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What once stopped you becomes something you can move through. This is how strength is developed, not in moments of ease, but in moments of pressure. And the more you face those moments, the more you realize something important. You are not as fragile as you thought. You are not as limited as you believed. You are capable of more. But that capability only reveals itself when you refuse to step back. Most people never reach this point because they leave too early. They feel discomfort and interpret it as a sign to stop. They never give themselves the chance to adapt, to grow, to break through. But when you stay, even just a little longer than before, you expand your limits. And that expansion builds confidence. Not surface-level confidence, but deep, internal certainty. The kind that comes from knowing you can handle difficulty, that you can face pressure without collapsing. That kind of confidence changes how you approach everything. Challenges no longer intimidate you, they activate you. Because you understand that every difficult moment is shaping you into someone stronger, more focused, more resilient. So instead of avoiding discomfort, you begin to lean into it. Not recklessly, but intentionally. Because you know that on the other side of that resistance is growth, and once you experience that enough times, something shifts permanently. You stop running. And you start becoming someone who endures. And once you become someone who endures, a final barrier begins to fall. Not the fear of effort, not the fear of discomfort, but something deeper and more subtle. The fear of not being perfect. It hides in your hesitation, in your delays. In the quiet voice that tells you to wait until everything is ready, until you feel more confident, until the timing is right. But that moment never comes, because perfection is not a destination. It is a distraction. Your mind uses it to protect you from judgment, from failure, from uncertainty. It convinces you that if you just prepare a little more, think a little longer, plan a little better, then you will finally be ready to act. But while you are waiting, nothing changes. Opportunities pass, energy fades, and slowly, without realizing it, you begin to build a habit of inaction. This is how people stay stuck for years. Not because they lack ability, but because they are trapped in the illusion that everything must be right before they begin. But growth does not work that way. Growth is messy, unclear, imperfect. It requires movement before confidence, action before certainty, progress before perfection, and the moment you accept that, something powerful happens. You become free. Free from the pressure to get everything right, free from the fear of making mistakes, free from the endless cycle of overthinking that keeps you in the same place, because now your focus shifts. You are no longer trying to prove yourself, you are trying to improve yourself, and that changes how you act. You start before you feel ready, you take steps even when you are unsure. You allow yourself to be seen as a beginner, as someone still learning, still growing. And instead of holding you back, that openness accelerates you, because action creates feedback. Every time you try, you learn something. Every time you adjust, you improve. Every time you continue, you build momentum. This is how mastery is formed. Not in perfect conditions, but in imperfect attempts repeated over time. Your brain adapts faster when you engage with reality, not when you stay in your head. It learns through experience, through correction, through movement, but only if you allow yourself to begin. Most people never give themselves that chance. They stay stuck in preparation, waiting for a version of themselves that does not exist yet. But that version is not created before action. It is created through action. So you let go of the need to be perfect. You accept that mistakes are part of the process. That flaws are not weaknesses, but evidence that you are trying, that you are growing, that you are moving forward. And when you embrace that fully, your fear begins to lose its power. Because there is nothing left to protect. You are no longer avoiding failure. You are using it. You are no longer chasing perfection. You are building progress. And that shift creates something unstoppable. Momentum built on action, confidence built on experience, growth built on consistency. This is where transformation becomes real, not in waiting, but in doing, right now as you are with everything you have. And that is more than enough to begin. And when you truly accept that you can begin as you are, something deeper settles inside you. A quiet sense of control, not over everything, but over what matters most. Your actions, your focus, your direction, because now you understand something that most people spend years chasing. Change is not an event. It is a system, a way of thinking, a way of living that compounds over time. You are no longer reacting to life, you are shaping it. Every small action you take is no longer random. It is intentional. Every moment of discomfort is no longer something to avoid. It is something to use. Every mistake is no longer something to fear. It is something to learn from. This is how your mind gets reprogrammed. Not in one breakthrough moment, but in repeated decisions that align with the person you are becoming. And the more you repeat those decisions, the more natural they feel. What once required effort becomes automatic. What once felt impossible becomes normal. This is the shift. You stop relying on motivation because you no longer need it. Your system carries you. Your habits guide you. Your identity supports you. And when that happens, discipline stops feeling like struggle. It becomes who you are. You wake up and act not because you are forced to, but because it feels right, because it is aligned. Because you have trained your mind to move in that direction without resistance. This is the real reward, not just external success, but internal control, the ability to trust yourself. To know that when you say you will do something, you will follow through. That when things get difficult, you will not disappear. That when fear shows up, it will not decide your actions. That level of self-trust is rare, but it is built step by step through everything you have been applying, through awareness, through small actions, through purpose, through openness. Through endurance, through letting go of perfection, each one has been shaping you. And now you are no longer the same person who started. You think differently, you respond differently. You move differently, and the world begins to respond to you differently. Because when your internal state changes, your external results follow, opportunities become clearer, decisions become easier. Progress becomes consistent, not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you have become stronger, more focused, more disciplined, more aware, and this is only the beginning. Because once you understand how to reprogram your mind, there is no limit to how far you can go. No version of yourself that is out of reach. No goal that is impossible to move toward. You are no longer stuck in old patterns. You are creating new ones. And every single day, with every action you take, you are reinforcing the identity of someone who does not wait, does not quit, and does not go back to who they used to be. So keep going. Not perfectly, but consistently. Because the life you want is not built in one moment. It is built in the moments you choose to act again and again until it becomes who you are.